The 80-20 rule states that 80% of the outcomes come from 20% of the causes. It works in theory, but I found it hard to use in practice. The promise of the 80-20 rule is that if you could figure out just the 20% of the stuff that actually matters, you can get away by doing just that. However, it's not that easy. It's hard to know what 20% is the right 20%. For example, let's take any complex task. Let's say I want to make a YouTube video. What's the 80-20 on that? Is it the title? Is it the thumbnail? The hook? Is it the camera? Is it the audio? Is it the actual words I say? Is it my camera presence? Is it the topic that I choose? All of these seem important. If I was to impose the 80-20 rule, which of these would represent that magic 20% that gets the result? I don't know. I'll use another example. Let's say we want to get into shape. We need gym membership. We need maybe supplements, better food, better sleep. Like, I can make a long list of things which you need to get the physique that you want. The purpose of the 80-20 rule is to reduce complexity. I think it does do a good job of that, except that I needed a little bit more structure before I could personally take the actionable steps required to get outcomes. At the end of the day, I only care about outcomes. I do not seek to entertain you or even educate you. I'm going to share with you a quick and easy mental model that serves me better than the 80-20 rule does. I use something called the 93 rule, or simply the big 3 rule. The 93 rule states that 90% of the outcomes come from the top 3 causes. So another way of stating it would be, what 3 sub-problems do you need to solve in order to solve the main problem? Let's do some examples. Let's say I want to create a YouTube video. What 3 problems do I need to solve? It's going to be packaging, script, and topic. There are other things to be sure, like audio or video quality, but without these 3, nothing else matters. And here's the cool part. The big 3 rule is inherently hierarchical, and you can use it recursively. I'll explain what I mean by that. What this means is now you can hit the sub-problems with the big 3 hammer again to reveal the smaller sub-problems which you can now solve. What's the big 3 on packaging? Oh, it's thumbnail, it's title, and the hook. Cool, we can solve those. There's tutorials on YouTube to make good thumbnails, titles, and hooks. What's the big 3 on the topic choice? Well, again, it's timeliness, its importance, and its relevance to the audience. You can research and fix each of these in order to solve the main problem. Suddenly, the strategy, the action steps become more clear to you because you've broken the problem down into manageable components. Now, I take 0 credit for this rule. I'm not sure when I started using it, but hey, I thought it was useful, so now I'm giving it to you. You can even apply the big 3 rule to behavior. What's the big 3 on camera presence? Okay, it's eye contact, it's clarity of speech, and perhaps it's also hand gestures, right? Each of these is a trainable behavior. Each of these I can train somebody to replicate. Now let's apply this technique to an even bigger question. What makes a good lifestyle? The triangle of lifestyle is health, wealth, and relationships. The big 3 on health is nutrition, exercise, and recovery. The big 3 on wealth is going to be income, investment, and spending. The big 3 on relationships is going to be friends, family, and female attraction. You can solve wealth if you increase income, increase investment, and decrease spending. You've solved relationships if you build friendships, have family ties, and build female attraction. But now you're thinking, well, it's easier said than done. Right, exactly. I never said it would be easy. I said it would be simple. Those are not the same things. But the good thing is, the big 3 rule allows you to break things down until you have a clear, actionable step. So let's go into health. I said the first of the big 3 on health is nutrition. But what's the big 3 on nutrition? In other words, what 3 problems do you need to solve in order to solve 90% of nutrition? Well, you need to answer what to eat, you need to answer how much to eat, you need to answer when to eat. If you solve these 3 problems, you have solved nutrition. Let's do another example. What's the big 3 on exercise? It's consistency, progressive overload, and injury prevention. If you do these 3, you're good. You'll 100% see results if you just focus on these 3 aspects of exercise. Now let's go to a different part of this. What's the big 3 on income? I'm a business owner, so for me it's going to be marketing, sales, and delivery. As in, I get people to see who I am, that's called marketing. I show people that I can solve a problem that they have, that's called sales, and I actually solve those problems, that's called delivery. If I do just these three things at a high level, I'm good. I don't have to worry about income if I execute on these three aspects of income. At the same time, if I fuck up on any of these, then I'm screwed. The Big Three rule is derived from a method called MEIS, which was created by the world's biggest consulting company called McKinsey. It stands for mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. Let's talk about the mutually exclusive part. Mutually exclusive means that there are no crossovers between the subparts when you break down the whole. In the ideal case, each subpart is its own problem that does not interact with other problems. Now, this isn't always perfect. For example, if you break down health into nutrition, exercise, and recovery, you of course know that a bad diet can affect exercise and bad exercise can affect recovery. Just because there are some crossovers doesn't mean you can't use the rule. Just be smart and try to minimize, not eliminate, these interactions. The second part is collectively exhaustive. Collectively exhaustive means that if the subparts of the whole are added up, they represent 100% of the whole. This is where the Big Three rule diverges from the traditional MEIS method. The traditional MEIS method requires that the whole is broken down into as many parts as it takes until we can be sure that the parts can be added up to recreate the whole. For the kind of consulting work that McKinsey does, this makes a lot of sense, but for what we are going to use this for, we don't need all the parts. Let me explain. This is because most complexity follows a power law distribution, meaning when you start breaking down a problem, the first chunk represents a very large part of the initial problem. The second chunk might be big as well, but it is smaller than the first. The third chunk is a bit smaller, but still significant. The fourth chunk, the fifth chunk, and so on are going to be smaller and smaller and smaller. They're going to matter less and less. So I'd rather focus on the big three that I need to get right, and then I can move on to the smaller problems. MEIS requires you to get all the chunks, but the Big Three rule requires that you find just the biggest three chunks. That's the difference. Even so, there is a potential problem that you will face. How many recursions of the Big Three rule do you need to do? And what do I mean by that? When we had health as a complex topic, we broke it down into nutrition, exercise, and recovery. When we broke exercise, I broke it down into consistency, progressive overload, and injury prevention. But even these are too big. There's too much complexity. It doesn't lead to an actionable step. We need to keep breaking it down. We break it down until we reach actionable steps. For example, let's break down consistency. What is consistency? It means essentially you're working out for weeks and months and years. If we break that down, we realize we're already consistent with many habits. We brush our teeth every day, we shower every day, and most of us pull up Instagram or social media every day. Here's the cool part. All of these are learned behaviors. You learn to brush your teeth consistently because your parents provided you the accountability when you were little. We shower consistently because we don't want to be seen as a smelly person. In other words, we want hygiene to be a part of our identity. We get on Instagram consistently because the app is designed in a way to inject a reward into our brain. If we apply the Big Three, consistency breaks down into accountability, identity, and reward. Now we have something we can work with. Now we have the ingredients to create a system that delivers each of these. Now we have something that we can bring change not only to ourselves but to others. It is using such principles that I have created Crusade. Now, coming back to the Big Three rule, why does it work? As Julius Caesar said, divide et impera, divide and conquer. Essentially, the Big Three rule allows you to divide and conquer your problems in the same way that Julius Caesar divided and conquered Gaul, which, as you know, culminated in the epic siege at Alesia. When Caesar was besieging the Gauls, he was in turn besieged by the Gauls. It was a double encirclement. There was the Gauls in the center, Caesar surrounded them, and then he himself was surrounded by a huge army of Gauls. In this terrible position where you have enemies on the inside and the outside, Caesar decided that there was three things that he could not let slip, otherwise it all goes to shit. Number one was the fortifications of the legion. If the walls broke, the legion would be crushed. Number two was the supplies. If Caesar didn't have supplies, we didn't manage logistics, he would be killed by starvation instead of spears. The third was the morale of the troops. Caesar himself led the charge in the fighting because he knew that his presence would light the troops on fire and they would not back down so long as he doesn't back down. If you read the Gallic Wars, Caesar used the Big Three rule. be like Caesar. Sadly, we are 2,000 years too late to join Caesar's legion, but hey, you might be in time to join mine. If you found the Big Three rule useful, you need to apply it now so you can learn it forever. Try to apply the Big Three rule to something in your life right now in the comment section. So I want you to comment below your Big Three analysis of any topic that you choose. Let me even give you some quick examples to show you how wide we can go with this stuff. What's the Big Three on driving a car safely? Well, it's going to be control, it's going to be attention, and it's going to be the speed at which you drive. What's the Big Three on looking good in your clothes? Well, it's going to be fit, for obvious reasons. It's going to be the quality of your clothes, again, for obvious reasons. And it's going to be congruence, as in the style should be congruent with your persona. I wear well-ironed polos, I wear high-quality V-necks, I wear black jeans, I wear accessories like my Seiko Alpinist, I wear my Persol sunglasses. You know, I'm going for a classy, sophisticated look, which makes sense for me because that's how I want to present myself to the world. That's what resonates with me. You'll never catch me in oversized t-shirts or streetwear. It's not that that's wrong. It just means that's not congruent with my style. Regardless, we're getting off topic. Let me give you the homework. Here's the homework for today. I'm going to drop a list of topics in the comment. Bonus goes to the most useful breakdown and the funniest breakdown. And remember, if you do not sacrifice for your dreams become the sacrifice.